Alright guys, so I've been slacking pretty hard on yard work lately. I've been pretty busy working on the Frankenstein Civic. So today I had to get some snow clearing done. That's finally out of the way. Now we can get back to work on the car. So if you saw the last video, you would have seen that we got the final layers of fiberglass done behind the strut towers here. So plan today now is to get this blocked out, get this side blocked out. We'll see how smooth we actually got it. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think we got it nice and flat this time around. So if we can get that blocked out today, then if we can get some detail body fill on there as well, nothing too thick, we shouldn't need to now, and then we'll move on to the rest of the bay. So that's the plan for today. Let's get block sanding. Alright guys, so I've been working on the passenger side for a while now. It's the next day, I've let the dust settle in here, and let's have a look at the progress so far. So you can already tell that this is a lot more flat than it was the first time I laid fiberglass on here. So there's a lot less low spots. Obviously because it's fiberglass, it's not going to lay down perfectly flat, but you can see now that the low spots are very minor. We'll basically be able to take care of the rest of this with body filler. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are as foolish as I am wanting to take on a project like this, but I guess I can kind of walk you guys through how I got it flat and the tools I've used. Again guys, I'm not a professional, but this seems to be working out pretty good for me. So I've got a pretty good assortment of sanding blocks here in my DuraBlock kit, but the ones that I use the most are ones that I've kind of custom made. So this one here came in the DuraBlock kit, but I actually cut it down a bit to make some smaller blocks. So I got this little one here, and then I have this one here is a bit smaller for some of the tighter spots. The one that I use the most for this spot is one that I just custom made out of a piece of wood. And then it has an angle on this side so that I can angle it in here properly so I can go straight up and down. And then this also doubles on the other side. I just put the sandpaper on the opposite side, and then we can use it the same way here to get this side flat. So this one's actually been working really good for me. I also have just a standard block of wood here. And what I've been using is this edge of it. I put the sandpaper on instead, and that allowed me to kind of get into these areas here, so I could kind of go this way, and then that got it nice and round and even. And then same with the edges here, so that I could kind of come up like this and kind of get this edge flat. So it was a little too wide to put the sandpaper on this side, but it worked really nicely having it like this. And then this block here, I kind of used this edge of it as well. Started off using the flatter edge, and then I used the narrow edge afterwards. But to get the spot flat back here, I kind of just used the edge of it, and I just went up and down until I got this nice and even and flat all the way along. So like there is a bend right here where the firewall bends, but when I hold the block like this and go up and down and follow that edge, then it gets it flat all the way up. So there's a bit of a low spot right here, but I think just a little bit of body filler in there will kind of even it out. So if I was to use the edge of this sanding block here as a straight edge, kind of show you how flat we were able to get it. So it's pretty even all the way along. You can see right there, there's a slight gap in there, but nothing huge. So I don't want to sand the fiberglass down too far and then it'll lose its strength. So I think I'm just going to fill in this area right here. If I come from this angle, you can see this is the low spot right here. So we'll fill that in a little bit. It's not going to need a whole bunch. I think it's going to work out pretty good. So I'm still going to need to do a little bit of work here, feathering out the edges. It'll probably require a little bit of body filler there too. Unfortunately, I did get this spot here perfect before I realized I was doing fiberglass. Now I'm going to probably have to redo this because when I'm feathering out this edge and I got a little bit of resin dripped on it, so I'm going to have to sand all that down anyway. That's probably going to ruin this, so I'm going to have to work on that again. But that shouldn't be too bad because I got the basic shape here. It'll just probably be another layer on there just to even it out. But yeah, these edges here are definitely going to need some work just to get it to blend with the rest of the firewall. So I'm going to spend a bit of time on that, and then we're going to get started on the driver's side. Basically going to be the same process, so I'm probably not going to show too much of it. I'll catch back up with you guys once we get this side block sanded, and then we're going to start laying body filler. Alright guys, it's a new day today. Man, I just realized how tired I sounded in that last clip. I guess this amount of sanding takes its toll on a guy. I mean, you get to a point in your life where you ask yourself, how much sanding is enough until you call it good enough? And you know what, guys? I think I'm to that point. In all honesty, guys, I could probably spend another couple of weeks on it trying to get it like mint, but I really don't want to spend that much time on bodywork. It's getting pretty old pretty fast. I've been doing it all winter, so I think I'm finally ready to lay some body fill on this. It may not be perfect, but the beauty of it is it's an engine bay, so it doesn't have to be perfect, right? So I think I'm gonna go with that philosophy. I'm gonna get laying some body fill here right away. So I've already blown everything off, so all the dust is gone, inside the bay anyway. I mean, we still got dust here. But bay is clean, wiped everything with a degreaser, and we should be ready to go. So I'm gonna head over here. So now I finally get to use my good body filler. So this is the stuff I picked up from work. It's the Exalta 2280 polyester putty and hardener. So this stuff is going to be a lot easier to work with than the auto grip that I have been using. This stuff is kind of like a no-name store brand product that I get from Finish Masters. This is supposed to be Evercoat, but it's just put in a different can, but I disagree with that statement because this stuff is very hard to use, and a lot of guys I talk to say Evercoat is very easy to work with. Well, this stuff definitely isn't, so I wouldn't recommend using that stuff for detailed stuff. It worked really well for big areas and stuff like what I did underneath the fiberglass, but for stuff that I'm doing now where I'm doing the detail filling, this stuff's definitely going to be much better. So since I haven't used it for a while, it's probably going to need a good mixing. Actually, that's not too bad. I'm going to stir it up anyway. Now, if I was any kind of professional, I would have a proper palette to put this on. But I don't have anything like that, so I just use a piece of cardboard. Works just fine for this purpose. Now I don't want to use a lot of filler because the more I use, the more I'm going to have to sand away, and that's just wasteful. This stuff's pretty expensive, so I want to kind of use it sparingly. So I'm going to use about that much. I am covering a pretty big area, but I don't want to lay it on super thick either. So this should go a pretty long way. And then for the hardener, I always put a little blob like that beside it. I know most directions on body fill actually say when you're adding the hardener to add a stripe along the top. And I find when I do that, it starts to harden already before I'm even done mixing it. So I've found with this stuff in particular, if I just put a little drop beside it about this size, it gives me a lot of working time, and it still hardens just fine. I haven't had any issues with doing it this way. So now I think I'm gonna use this spreader for the most part. Because I am covering a pretty big area, I still wanna lay it on pretty thin, but this will get it nice and smooth, and it'll cover a bigger area in a shorter amount of time. So let's get this stuff mixed up, and we'll head over to the engine bay. All right guys, I got it all mixed up, so we're ready to start laying this stuff, so let's just get to it. Alright guys, so this is how far I made it with the filler I mixed up. So not quite enough, but I would much rather mix not enough than too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this harden, and then I'm going to add a bit more to it. So while this side is hardening, I'm going to get to filling this side, and then once this side is filled, then I should be able to jump back to this side, fill in the rest that I missed. I just don't want to add it too soon. I'm going to end up messing up the stuff that I've already laid. So I tried to lay this out as smooth as I could. I think I got it looking pretty smooth. I'm pretty happy with it anyway. It looks like I went on a little thick in some areas, but this stuff always looks like it goes on thick, but I actually thinned it out quite a bit. So it's not nearly as thick as it looks. So we'll really see how flat we can get it once I start sanding. But for now, I'm going to get the rest of the body filler laid, and then I will catch up with you guys once I'm done. Alright guys, I got all the body filler done. It took a bit longer than expected. I was actually supposed to go to a punk rock show last night, but I decided to get this finished, so let's have a look. So this has been curing overnight. It is the next day now, and as you can see, I got all the body filler done on both sides. It looks a lot thicker than it actually is, but I'm gonna get to block sanding this now. I don't think I'm gonna bother showing any of this because I know you guys have seen me block sand over and over again, and it's probably getting pretty repetitive, but I got news for you guys. Bodywork is repetitive. I don't like it either, but it has to be done. So I'm gonna get going on this. Once I get the bulk of the block sanding done, I will catch back up with you guys. All right guys, update time. So at the moment, I'm about as sick as a dragon with a smoke allergy. I mean, I look like the frickin' crypt keeper right now, but trying not to let that slow me down. Gotta get some work done out in the garage, so here's where we're at with the block sanding. So I've been at this for a couple days now. I'm pretty happy with the results I got on the top of both sides. Only part that I'm kind of having issues with right now is this curved piece right in here where it transitions to the strut tower. If I come in here from the other side, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So trying to get this transition here even all the way up is proving to be pretty difficult. I don't really have the proper tools for that. I've actually just been using my fingers and kind of smearing the body fill in there, which isn't really the best way to do it. I kind of ended up doing the same on this side, and you can see kind of how chunky and uneven it is right there. I haven't sanded this side down yet, but that's kind of what I've been working with. So today I went to the hardware store and picked up one of these. This is used for caulking, but it should work the same for body fill. So if I was to use this to spread the body filler in here, I think I could get it pretty even. So I'm pretty well done everywhere else, except those pieces I'm not too happy with. Only other part I'm working on is down here, which I also had finished before, but then I realized I was fiberglassing, so I'm gonna have to redo all of this. So I do have another layer on here that has to be block sanded, and then same on this side. I got a bit of work to do there yet, so I'm just gonna keep at her and see how far we get.
We just kind of dived into the turbo a little bit, checked some things out, and got it back together. But hopefully this will straighten her out right now and we can make some power.
here's where we're at with the body fill. So that tool I used ended up working pretty good, I think. Let's see if I can get up close here. You can see it's looking pretty smooth. I also did this corner as well. I think it's gonna work out really nice. It's not gonna require very much sanding at all. I'm just gonna let that cure. So while this side is curing, I'm gonna finish blocking out this side, and then I'll probably have to do one more layer in this corner, maybe here. We'll see how it looks, but I'm gonna get to that now. Alright guys, it's been a battle, but all the block sanding is officially done. So I've blocked it all out with 80 grit, and then I've gone over it again with 320. So all that I'm left with now is a few pinholes and maybe a bit of minor scratches. So I'm gonna go over it with some spot putty now. I'm not gonna be as thorough as I was throughout the rest of the engine bay. I just wanna get the deep pinholes, because when I prime this, I'm gonna lay the primer pretty thick, and I think the primer is gonna take care of a lot of the sanding scratches that are left over. So I just want to take care of the worst of it with the spot putty, and then I think the primer is going to take care of the rest. So I'm going to get to that now. I'm going to kind of walk you guys through how I do the spot putty, and then once that's done, it's going to be cleanup time. And yeah, there's a lot of cleanup to do in here because it is filthy. Okay, so this is the spot putty I'm going to be using. It's pretty basic stuff. It doesn't require any hardener or anything like that. So just comes in a tube. So I'm gonna grab a seat. I got a paper towel that I'm gonna set on my leg so I can wipe off the excess, because I don't want to lay this stuff on thick at all. I want it just to fill in the pinholes and nothing else. I got myself a flashlight, so I'm gonna use this, hold it at an angle, and then that's gonna show all the imperfections. It'll be very easy to spot them. So any major pinholes I see, I'm just gonna fill them with spot putty. And looking at this right now, I can see quite a few. Nothing major though, so I think this shouldn't be too bad. So I'm just spreading it on very lightly and then scraping off the excess, so all that's left is whatever's inside the pinhole. Once it starts to dry out, I wipe off the excess on my paper towel. Then I grab some more, and then I do the same thing. So I'm just going to do this for the next 5 to 10 hours, I guess, and we'll see where we get. Alright guys, so fast forward, and I got all the spot putty done on both sides. So this stuff dries pretty quickly. As you can see, I wasn't nearly as thorough as I was when I did the rest of the engine bay. If I was being as picky as I was before, this whole spot would be covered in spot putty. But I think the primer will take care of the rest of it. This stuff dries pretty quick, so I'm gonna start sanding now. So since I've sanded this all with 320 already, I'm gonna move to 400 grit. So I just got a piece of 400 here. I'm just gonna sand it out by hand, and it's pretty straightforward. This stuff sands pretty easily, so kind of just go like this until all that's left is the scratches. So that piece right there, all that's there is the bit of scratches and pinholes. So I'm just going to do that on the rest of this. Shouldn't take too long. Once I'm done this side, I will finish this side, and then it is time for cleanup. Alright guys, now after sanding, this is kind of what we're left with. As you can see, all the scratches and pinholes are visible because the putty is red, but it is all perfectly smooth now. So I'm pretty happy with the results. Again, I could have spent a lot more time on this yet trying to get it perfect, but I just really want to get this car running by spring, and if I spend too much time and attention to detail on this engine bay, I'm going to still be working on it by next winter. So I think I'm to the point now where whatever the result is, I'm going to be happy with it, because it's going to be a million times better than it was before. I think that's where I'm gonna leave it tonight. Took a lot longer than expected because every 10 minutes I had to blow my nose or I would have a sneezing fit or something. So I think I'm gonna rest up tonight. It's a new day tomorrow.
The next day.
Alright guys, I spent a pretty good chunk of the day getting most of the dust cleaned up in the garage. Definitely not all of it, but I got rid of the worst of it. So now when I'm going to be spraying, it's not going to be kicking up dust and getting dust all over the fresh primer. So I know I won't eliminate it entirely because there's just no way I'm going to get rid of all the dust in here yet. In springtime, when it warms up, I'll be able to open the doors for a lot longer and spend a lot more time getting it cleaned up. I think I want to invest in a good quality leaf blower, and then I'm going to be able to use that to blow everything off in here, because the compressor does work, but I feel that a blower would do a lot more, and it wouldn't take nearly as long to get the job done. So I think I'm going to do something like that for springtime and get all the dust eliminated in here, because I'm definitely going to want it a lot cleaner in here when I actually do paint. Primer I'm not too worried about, but for paint I'm going to want it really clean in here. So as you can see, I got the tarp up behind me, so I got the garage masked off for the most part. It's kind of exactly what I did when I did primer the first time. So the garage is basically ready. Now I'm going to have to spend a good chunk of time getting the car masked off and getting everything nice and clean in the bay. So because it's been dusty for so long, the compressor is only going to do so much. So I got it to the point where I can blow it off now with compressed air, and it doesn't kick any more dust up. So now it's going to be a good deep clean and degrease on the engine bay. So I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on that because I do want to make sure that the primer is going to stick properly. So we're basically to that point. I'm running out of time today, and to be honest with you guys, I'm not really feeling like spending too much more time out here. I've been out here for quite a while already and made a lot of progress, but it's starting to take its toll on me. So I think I'm gonna rest up, start fresh over the week. We'll get the car masked off, get it cleaned up, and we'll shoot primer for sure this week. So we made a lot of good progress this weekend. I'm pretty stoked about it, but I wish I could have done more, but this sickness definitely slowed me down. So I think I'm gonna end the video here, guys. I was really hoping we could do primer, but I think we'll save that for the next video. I'll be able to get a lot more detailed in it if I just do a specific video about priming it. So then we can kind of go into a bit more detail with that. So if you like the video, guys, give me a thumbs up. Send me some good thoughts. I just really want to get over this sickness already so I can be a bit more productive. Really would have got a lot more accomplished had I been feeling better, but still got a lot done regardless. Just wish we could have done more. But yeah, guys, drop me a comment below. Subscribe if you haven't already. We got lots of content coming on this car. Racing season starts in spring, so we'll be doing that. So if that kind of stuff interests you, consider subscribing. We'll see you guys next time.